To me, the most critical thing in agriculture is investing in peasant agriculture, transforming peasant agriculture. African statesman and former president of Tanzania, Jakaya Kikwete, is no doubt talking about the biggest hurdle in the way of Africa's agricultural development. In Africa, agriculture has remained mostly subsistent despite the tremendous global opportunities that exist in the production of crops, especially cash crops like cocoa, rubber, and oil palm. This is because African leaders have either failed or neglected to make the investment that will transform the continent's most sustainable source of wealth from peasant farming to modernized and commercial agriculture. As the giant of Africa, Nigeria should be leading the way in the transformation of agriculture on the continent. But in most cases, Africa's largest economy has failed to demonstrate such leadership. A case in point is the recent drop in the production of the country's most important cash crop, cocoa, from the fourth largest producer in the world to the 7th position. The declining fortunes of cocoa production in Nigeria is our concern on Farmers Market this week. Farmers Market promotes Nigeria's agricultural prowess, identifies the challenges besetting the sector, and advocates policies and programs that will help grow Nigeria's agro-economy. Varieties of highly nutritious rice in Abakaliki, Ofada, Kano. Yet Nigeria wastes billions on rice importation. Cocoa in the southwest, and yet top dollar is spent on imported chocolate and beverages. Fruits rot in Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, yet imported juice line the shops. 82 million hectares of rich arable land, yet no jobs, and food insecurity threatens.
Our real wealth is in farming, livestock, hatcheries, fisheries, horticulture, and forestry.
It's time to act different. Time to bring Nigerian farmers to the market. Farmers Market, growing Nigeria's agro-economy. Showing every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on AIT. Cocoa, by far Nigeria's #1 agricultural produce. The importance of cocoa to Nigeria's economy is underscored by the giant developmental strides accomplished by the government of the defunct Western region under the leadership of the late sage Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The list is long. The introduction of free education and free health care in the old Western region. The establishment of the first television station in Africa. The Liberty Stadium. The University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. And of course, the iconic Cocoa House, one of the tallest buildings in Africa at the time. But by far, the greatest achievement of the time was the empowerment of the cocoa farmers of the region.
Where a farmer individually owns these cocoa farms. So at the end of the season, they sell their cocoa. This brings a fund to their post. They use this money to educate their children. You know, Ondo State is one of the leading states that has eminent professors, eminent lawyers, eminent citizens. The farmers were able to train their children from the resources got from the cocoa. Apart from that, employment opportunities in the industries as laborers, as farm owners, as processors, as producer buyers.
Cocoa production was so successful that the 1950s and the 1960s were described as decades of glory for cocoa. Production peaked at 400,000 metric tons in 1970. It was cocoa boom. Since the 1950s, Nigeria has been numbered among the top 4 largest producers of cocoa in the world. The figures for the 2014-2015 production season show Nigeria behind Cote d'Ivoire, which produces over 30% of global cocoa output, Ghana, the second largest producer, and Indonesia, world number 3. Nigeria has an annual output of 367,000 tons with cultivation land area of about 700,000 hectares. Nigeria is also the 3rd largest exporter of cocoa after Ivory Coast and Ghana. Cocoa was a major foreign exchange earner for Nigeria in the 1950s and 1960s and of course in the 1970s. At that time, the country was the 2nd largest producer in the world. However, like other crops and the agricultural sector in general, cocoa production was dealt a crippling blow by the discovery and investment of resources and attention on the oil sector in the 1970s and 80s. The cash crop suffered a further setback in the mid-1980s when the military regime of General Ibrahim Babangida liberalized cocoa trade following the advice of the Bretton Woods Institutes.
In 1986, the board that was moderating the activities of cocoa was scrapped. That's the Cocoa Marketing Board. Once it was scrapped, there are so many Shylock traders coming into the business, going to the farm stairs, asking farmers, just bring your cocoa. They pay any amount just to use that means to fight out their money. This is common, there is no point in hiding it, the Lebanese in particular. So you now find them in the farm stairs, going to the farmers on fermented cocoa, on dried cocoa. They just buy anything cocoa, they fight out. Then the problem came up. We now have low quality cocoa, which attracts low price in the international market. And the problems about 3 years after came to the farmers. Nigeria cocoa rejected, quality of output very bad. Farmers in the farm, they are old, the younger ones are not ready to go there. A number of problems.
The recent export projection by the International Cocoa Organization shows that Nigeria has dropped from 4th to 7th place on the list of cocoa exporting countries because of the current recession and the challenges with forex for export business. The organization's projections are based on the cocoa beans that reach the ports of purchasing countries, and the figures may differ from the harvested crop. This is because many exporters discouraged by the earnings from cocoa beans, which are restricted to the official exchange rate for the dollar, and now avoiding the ports. In Nigeria, about 13 states produce cocoa, and the largest output comes from Ondo State with about 77,000 tons per annum. Other states in the southern belt of Nigeria which produce cocoa because of the favorable soil and climatic conditions include Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Delta, Edo, Ekiti, Kogi, Kwara, Ogun, Ondo, Oyo, and Taraba. In the global cocoa value chain, the farmers' work by far is the hardest, but their reward from the $100 billion cocoa industry is insignificant. In fact, it is less than 6%. Farmers Market has been on a tour of cocoa-producing communities in Ondo State to find out how they are coping with the dwindling fortunes of cocoa in Nigeria. This is Akure, the capital city of Ondo State. There are 18 local government areas in the state, and only 2 of them do not produce cocoa in commercial quantities. Our tour of the cocoa-producing communities of the Sunshine State begins from Ala in Akure North local government area. Our destination is Agodada, a cocoa farming village. We set out to Ala while the morning dew is still hanging heavy in the air. In villages along the road, farmers are just on their way to the farms. But surprisingly, timber logging trucks are on their way out of the forests. Ala is just 26 kilometers from Akure, but the journey takes about an hour because the road is in a terrible state. At some points, the tar is completely washed off, while other points are pothole and crater-ridden. It's common to see heavy-duty vehicles hauling timber or other agricultural produce from the farms fall over while trying to avoid the potholes. This truck transporting oranges gave way the night before. The driver and his companion wait for help to remove what's left of the perishable fruits. The consequence of the poor state of the road is that it costs a lot more than the farmers can afford to move their produce to the markets, and the waste is enormous.
We must open the rural areas up. Rural roads has to be opened up. A lot of, not just orange, a lot of people abandon their cassava in the farm when you look at the cost of moving it to the town. A lot of people abandon most of this farm produce on the farm because the roads are bad and nobody is talking about rural roads.
Finally, we arrive at Ala. This is where the tarred road runs out. Here, we park our vehicle and make a connection to the next lap of our journey by commercial motorcycle, popularly called Okada. Our destination is Agodada, exactly 6 kilometers from Ala. Less than 5 minutes out of Ala, we come across this compelling evidence of how impossible it is to drive any regular car to Agodada. Even this timber hauling truck cannot negotiate the road without getting stuck. Finally, we arrive at our destination and a determined cocoa farming community immediately welcomes us. Welcome to Dada, a major cocoa farming community in Akure North local government area of Ondo State. The cocoa beans spread on the floor here is a major testimony to the fact that this community has cocoa production as its main vocation. But despite its importance to the cocoa economy of Ondo State, this community has no electricity. The bare transformer behind me has been there for at least 9 years when the electrification of this community was stalled. Apart from this, there is no health center in Dada. When the people, farmers of Dada, are ill, they have to go as far as Akure to get health care. I've come today to meet with the farmers of Dada to find out what their challenges are and how they're going about solving them. Thank you very much for talking to us. All of them are cocoa farmers. They converged on the home of the community leader on hearing that a media crew was visiting. They found their opportunity to vent their frustrations, and indeed, there are many. Dada is a rural community in the most basic sense, with a population of 5,000, mostly cocoa farmers. There are no paved roads, no health facilities apart from this maternity clinic run by a church.
We don't have a hospital here. Let them help us. When we fall ill, we have to go as far as Ala or Akure for treatments. There is no hospital here.
When you harvest cocoa, these beans that are on the floor, how will they be taken to town?
It's not easy to carry it, but the people buying it will just buy it in a cheaper price because of the road. Because we have no road, they will buy it cheaper.
Adúpẹ́ ní ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run tẹ́lẹ̀ ọ̀sẹ̀ náà fi rìn láti Àkúrẹ́ débí
We are grateful to God. We used to trek from Akure to this place. There was a time when it took 3 days to get from here to Akure. Now, things have changed. Modernization has also brought its own challenges. Many of our grown children don't have jobs. They still depend on their parents. They have forgotten us. When government officials come this way, they don't get here. They get to Allah and turn back. They don't get here at all.
This primary school is the only educational facility here. It was built through communal effort and later taken over by government. Even then, it is still maintained by the community. Pipe-borne water is unknown to the people of Dada. Wells like this one and this stream are their sources of water. This is not your regular GSM shop. These phones are not for sale either. Mohammed's shop is the only place where the people can charge their phones. Rows of universal phone battery chargers and a maze of other chargers giving life to dead phones. A little generator powers Mohammed's shop, and it is the only place where there is constant electricity, and so charging phones for a fee is brisk business for the young man. Despite the myriad of problems they have to contend with in Agodada, the cocoa farmers here would not want to live anywhere else. Their cocoa farms stretch for several kilometers in all directions. Olasukomi is one of them. He remains in this village because it is the only place where he can practice his trade of cocoa farming, which he describes as his lifetime vocation.
There is no secondary school. So Olokuta, from Akure.
Olokuta near Akure, that's where our children go to school. Sometimes they don't get to school until 9:30 a.m. because they trek. The suffering is too much and we work very hard. We don't want to steal, we need help. As I am now, I can't be a commercial motorcyclist or a driver, but I am a farmer and I am good at it. Farming is my profession for life and I will prosper in it.
Another one is Adedayo Ogundare, an engineer who went into cocoa farming about 9 years ago when he retired from public service.
My last point of call was at the Ekiti State University. I was the director of works. So after retirement, I decided to take up agriculture. Though I'm an engineer, a practical one, and an experienced engineer, and I was to go into a workshop establishment doing manufacturing, but because of the capital cost, which I did not have, so the little money I got from my gratuity and retirement benefits, I decided to come to the farm and become a cocoa growing farmer. And I decided this based on the fact that my father was a cocoa farmer and a good one at that. So, and the experience I got while growing up spurred me into taking up cocoa farming as an occupation.
At Ogundare's farm, the orange trees with overripe fruits are easily noticeable. But for him, it makes better economic sense to let them rot than to pay the high cost of harvest and transportation. He has enough challenges tending his cocoa nursery and managing his trees.
First and foremost, that is input. For example, some 2-3 years ago, we had this government growth enhancement scheme that the federal government was given to farmers. And the thing has ceased now for the past 3 years. It is not forthcoming. And all the inputs, you have fertilizer, you have to get insecticides, you have to get pesticides, and all these things. And these things, they are timely based. If you don't get them and apply them at the right time, you are just applying to failure at the end of the year. So then labor cost is very, very expensive because before you can entice a young man to come and work in your farm, the money must be readily available in your pocket.
One of the challenges that the cocoa farmers also struggle with is the black pod disease, a deadly blight that reduces cocoa output. Cocoa pods infested by the disease are common in the Dada farms. And when they lay their cocoa beans out to dry, the farmers can tell how much of their harvest has been lost to the blight.
So lórí chemical at the time of chemical, a máa ń fetí gbọ́n gbòòrò ni bí wọ́n máa ń ṣe.
On the issue of pesticides, we hear that they give farmers, but it never gets to us here. When it's December and it's too late for us to use pesticides, that's when they ask us to come for them, and we don't bother. The pesticides are always given to traders. Even merchants, they don't give to us.
That's Farmers Market for this week. Next week, we look closely at the factors responsible for the stunted growth of Nigeria's cocoa output and efforts to remedy the situation. Plus, a look inside Nigeria's most iconic cocoa producing community as we head to the scenic town of Idore, headquarters of cocoa production in Ondo State and indeed Nigeria. On our feedback segment this week, let's hear your thoughts on the dwindling fortunes of cocoa production in Nigeria. How can the fortunes of Nigeria's most prized agricultural produce be improved? Send your comments to our Facebook page or go to our website www.farmersmarketng.com. Click on Farmers Network, choose the topic, make your contributions brief, and they will feature next week on Farmers Market. You can see this program again whenever you want to. Just visit our website www.farmersmarketng.com. For feedback and sponsorship considerations, please contact us on 009 566 0090. Email us on info@farmersmarketng.com. Follow us on Twitter @farmersmarketng. And like our Facebook page, it's facebook.com/farmersmarketng. Farmers Market returns same time, same station next week. Thanks for watching.